Hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Estate with Ryan. So excited to be with you on a Saturday, talking our favorite topic, real estate. It's a hot topic in today's housing market. So much going on. But again, always like to thank you for your time. And thanks for watching our show or listening to our show. We're streaming all over social media. You can find us on Facebook, X, YouTube. So live streaming. And, of course, listen to our great partners on News Talk 98.7 at 1 o'clock. Other partner, Talk Radio 92.3 FM. At 11 a.m. You can always catch us there. And, of course, on their Facebook channel, we're live streaming there as well. In case you just missed us there, or maybe on Facebook, you can watch Real Estate with Ryan. And it's always available for the replay. We got you covered with Spotify, iTunes, Google, you name it. So a lot of Real Estate with Ryan. My wife will say, that's a lot of real estate with Ryan. That's a lot of Ryan. I was like, okay, honey, give me a hard time. You know how it is, guys, but excited to be in the studio with you. And we've got a great show for you. Hope everybody's having an amazing week. Weekend is here. Kiddos are back to school. That means we're 1 week out for football time in East Tennessee. But what does that mean for the housing market? Ryan, you talk a lot about football. Well, everybody's talking a lot about football. It's an exciting time. And I think it's most people realize in the spring and housing market is one of the busiest times. If you have an agent or if you know somebody that's in the business, you know, the housing market, when do people buy and sell? Well, you know, spring market is the most popular. Why? Because the kiddos are going to be getting out of school soon. And if they're going to change school districts or relocate, you want to be within that end of the year or summer so they can start school in a new location. And it's where, you know, where most homes are looking the best, right? Curb appeal is amazing, and opportunities are where more people have opportunities to select from. So on the second half of the year, right, we saw the fall, I really think is our best time. We got the Smokies. It's absolutely gorgeous. You know, anybody that has a short-term rental know this is go time all the way from now through the end of the year to the holidays to the first of the year. You know, is where the busy season. People coming in with the leaves change, football time, basketball time, so many different opportunities to come in East Tennessee, so that market starts picking up. And that's a great opportunity for the housing market as well. But that being said, it's a busy time around for our company, for everything that we do with the university, and games, and things like that. So somebody asked me, so Ryan, is this a slower part of time, and is this a better time to sell now versus maybe, let's say, next year? And I said, well, you know, really hard for us to tell. We're busy 12 months out of a year. We're constantly busy, but really second half of the year is our go time, and it's really so busy. And I think that has a lot to do with what just happened on Friday, and everybody in the housing market is talking about the Fed's meet. Mr. Jerome Powell, the Fed's met on Friday. If you hadn't had a chance to catch that information, as always, he's, you know, cryptic of what they're saying, and we'll kind of go into a little bit of details about that. I don't want to go too far into that, but want to start our congrats, and we'll jump into what Mr. Jerome Powell had to say within the housing market. Before we start that, we got our congrats. New listings, 110 Holcomb Drive in Kingston, new listing hit the market. Also, 326 Shooting Star Loop, 101 in Townsend. We're talking about condos, great condo that we just listed in Townsend, and a new one that's coming up downtown with private parking. So in the second half of Real Estate with Ryan, we're going to talk about condos. Is now a time to buy a condo? Is there an opportunity? We're seeing more inventory across the country increase, and buyers have more opportunity to negotiate better pricing. So we'll talk about is the condo market heating up, and is there an opportunity now? You know, so real estate's always timing. You know, right now you buy at the right time, right place, you're going to get a deal. You know, if there's a little softening in the market, opportunity. These rates go lower, which is what is expected. Do we go back into a bidding war? All these things come in, and we'll cover that on the second half. And congrats to our great seller on Parkview Vista Way in Pigeon Forge, 1233 Parkview Vista Way in Pigeon Forge. Great cabin with great amenities, was able to put that under contract in a short period of time. And 741 East Millers Cove in Wallen, great property there, went under contract and fell through, believe it or not. And our couple was purchasing out of Nashville, and some things lined up, all worked out, got another buyer rapidly, cash, and was able to meet the closing deadline. And I thought that was so important for them. I know that they were relieved. and just a lot going on with that. But talking about that, and that's going to be our topic for the show, is, deals are falling through. We're seeing that across the country. In June, the numbers were up higher than we've seen in previous years. So deals are falling through, and why is that? And what can you do about it? We'll talk about that. And then our second half of the show, talking about condos. Is now the right time for condos? Is there a lack of inventory, or is that increasing? We'll talk about that and so much more. All right, let's see with here, Mr. Powell. I know everybody's eyes were on the news, watching what's going on specifically. It seems like for the past couple of years, if you've watched the housing market, everybody is watching this show. It's almost like one of these soap operas. It just keeps going on and on and on, and you just never know what's going to go on. I kind of feel like that's the housing market in today. The housing market is watching what the Fed will do or what they won't do, what the interest rates will do. And it seems like we've seen this from I'd say maybe 2023 when they started raising all to present. So affordability is the number one factor that we're facing in the housing market today. And Mr. Chair Jerome Powell Friday had a possible interest rate cuts, as he noted high level of uncertainty that's making the job difficult for many monetary policy makers. The White House demands for, obviously, if you followed the news, the White House is demanding for rate cuts specifically. Powell did not note the importance of the Fed, did note the importance of the Fed independence. Powell said that the labor market remains in good shape and the economy has shown resilience. He said downside dangers are rising. Starts talking about tariffs, and not sure, with the tariffs not causing lasting inflation, thus warranting rate cuts. I think that was one of the bigger concerns that we were seeing. Are the tariffs causing an issue with rates? I just saw something on the other day about GM come out, and their stock was absolutely tanking with the inflection of the tariffs. So who really knows what's going to affect it? It seems like, if you watch the stock market up one day, down one day, but a lot of things are hinging on the Fed's decision here in the middle of September. Powell said that a reasonable base case being that the tariffs impact will be short-lived, a one-time shift in price level that likely would not cause from holding higher rates. So I think that's very good to see. Powell said the past 5 years have been a painful reminder of hardship that high inflation imposes, especially on those least able to meet the higher necessities. So, short answer is still wait and see game. Not sure exactly what's going to happen, but I think the markets have responded. Try to go over a little bit of the interest rates as well. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans. Fannie Mae, we're looking at 30-year fixed rate, 6.5%. That's down 0.02% from previous week. And then our mortgage rates for our 20 years are 6.3. Mortgage rates for our 15 years, 5.786, and that's down 0.05%, which I thought was a really good rate. And then our, what we're seeing in our prices of probably $500,000 or $600,000 and under, our FHA is really affordable, and that's a bracket that really needs a boost. So our fixed rate 30-year FHA rate is down 0.81. All right, so it's at 6.23, and our VA is 6.4. Down almost a half a point as well. And there's a conventional ARM at 5.9. So that gives you an outlook on the interest rates or where we're at today. Last week was our lowest interest rate level since October, a previous year ago. And we're seeing sales, or we're seeing a uptick in contracts. We probably put 5 or 6 homes under contract and then during this week, in this period. And so there's opportunities. Buyers are now seeing that if you're going to buy, now is the time. How many people have listened to the survey or watched the news that said, hey, there's 4 million people that if the interest rates adjust just a point, will come back into the marketplace. All that comes into play. But that being said, it's a watch and see game. What are the Feds going to do? Are they not going to lower rates? What we know now, the rates are lower than where we've been in a while. We know housing market, in the Knoxville housing market, they're studying on a little bit longer. And we're talking about our show is, what can you do if deals are falling through? They say, Ryan, why are these deals falling through? Well, these deals are falling through because the market has uncertainty. According to Redfin last week, in June, 15% of home pending sales actually fell through. And what does that mean for buyers? They backed out of the actual purchase and sale contracts. And so we're seeing that trending going forward. We got our second half, Real Estate with Ryan. Make sure you stay with us. We're talking about deals falling through and also condos, how that may be the right purchase for you. Stay tuned with Real Estate with Ryan.
Knoxville and East Tennessee. The region is known for its rolling hills, rivers, and lakes. There's no better place to work, live, or raise a family. Home is where your story begins. Buying or selling your home is a big decision, and you need a real estate team you can trust.
I'm Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty, your hometown experts. Whether you're buying or selling a home, let us develop a winning game plan for you.
Hometown Realty is East Tennessee's #1 real estate group and a proud sponsor of the Vols.
I'm Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty. The real estate market's changing every day. You need to know your home's value in today's market. Text your home address to 290-2290 for an instant, no obligation home evaluation. That's 865-290-2290. And remember, when you're ready to sell, we have a guaranteed sale program to get you in your next home stress-free. Trust your hometown experts. We've helped thousands of people just like you.
All right, we're back at it, Real Estate with Ryan. Thank you for staying tuned. We're talking about in the first half, didn't get to talk too much about that. We're talking about the interest rates, Jerome Powell, the Fed, what they're expecting to do here in September. But we're going to talk about on this show, we're going to try to cover a little bit here. Deals falling through. As a seller, as a buyer, how does that affect you in the housing market here in East Tennessee? What can you do about it? And buying a condo is now the time. We'll talk about that. As always, we're going to do our 60-second vol update. Try to jump on this pretty quick here. Drum roll, please. All right. First home game. It's not a surprise. We got our first home game, Tennessee versus ETSU. Make sure you like, subscribe to our channels, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. We're going to send people. We got 2 groups, 2 tickets per group, and parking pass. We're going to send you to the home game. Sold out, by the way. All courtesy of Hometown Realty. All you got to do is like, share, and subscribe. We'll see that post right after next week. Make sure you see it, like it. We're going to send you to every home game. We love doing it every year, and we keep on doing it. First home game is ETSU at home, okay? All right. Now, first game is September 6th, 3:30 in Atlanta. Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Of course, you want to be there. We'll be watching. I don't think I'll be able to make the game, but it's going to be exciting to see the Vols kick off play for 2025-2026. That is what I've got for our Vol update. It's going to be an amazing season. Go root on our Vols. Athletics department is doing a great job. So much going on. And we can cover so many different things. Had an opportunity to meet with Mike Keith the other day, our group. He's going to be a great announcer, and I'll be excited to hear him call the games and just root on all sports as a whole. So that's our 60-second Vol update. Hometown Realty, proud sponsor of the Vols. Go Big Orange. So much going on. Like I said, I'm trying to figure all this out here in this time. Anyway, talking about the housing market. Let's stay on track. As I was saying in the first section of the show, June 15th, around that range, 15% of homes, pending homes. That means we have a contract, Ryan, and we're planning on moving. Maybe you're moving out of state, and then all of a sudden the brakes get pumped and it falls through. That means they backed out of their contracts. That's not too much higher than roughly 12% between 17 and 19, but still an increase. The key to avoiding this headache is knowing what is causing the issue. There's a lot of reasons it's causing the issue. High prices, mortgage rates, and buyers' budgets. They don't have a lot of room or appetite for unexpected repairs. Not to mention more options to choose from now that there are more homes on the market. Inspections turn up a major issue and may have opted buyers to walk away from numerous things that are coming on. And it goes on and on to say with that, but to keep deals from unraveling, it allows a seller to opportunity address repairs. We're talking about pre-inspection. Is, a pre-listing inspection an opportunity for you as a seller in today's housing market? Do we recommend it, and is that an opportunity for you? A lot of people have different variants, and I think today's market, it's a case-by-case basis. We do this show, hopefully to give you great advice, and know that you got a great agent that you can count on. If you need any questions regarding real estate, we're always here to help you. So it's not a one-shoe-fits-all, one-size-fit-all, right? It's each case is different. The challenge in getting a home inspection, at least in the Tennessee housing market, is once a seller knows exactly something's wrong or a defect, then they have to disclose that on what is a residential property disclosure. But when the flip side of the coin is, we go into inspection, we have a short deadline, we come up to maybe a 1031, right? We're going to see those as we approach the end of the year. 1031s are rampant. It's a lot of homes that have sold or investment properties are now lagging behind days on the market. And guess what? We've got to find a property, got to identify the property. One of the properties that I just mentioned on the radio, and congrats, guess what that was? It was a 1031. And we're able to get that under contract quickly. And they were on days on the market. I'm talking about days. The agent we're working with was writing an offer and literally had 1 day to identify a property. So if we're not prepared, we may lose that buyer where time is of the essence in today's housing market. So, but it also gives you opportunity in today's market where labor prices are just outrageous. I mean, we had a particular job on a ceiling, some drywall work. It wasn't anything too major. It was a little bit of work. We got a quote of $9,000. How do they even come up with that? I don't even know. But that's the labor market if you're shopping around. It allows you to have last-minute negotiations. I think one of the things that we just came on a large project that we had up in Gatlinburg was there were some things that we needed to know, and if we would have known that, we could have taken care of it. Simple as a wall that needs to be waterproofed. Well, before you know it, we've got, the foundation inspector, this inspector, and it seems like, at least from our perspective, that the more people you call out, it seems that they have to be justified for whatever they're coming out for. And very rarely do we find that, the inspectors or who they bring in say, hey, we need X, Y, and Z done. It's, this is what we've got. It's, everything's fine. So as always, we get, indication that everything's great, but we need A and B done. Okay. And that was, $11,000 or $10,000. And luckily the seller was in the business as in a builder, but that affects the bottom line. And having a pre-listing inspection or pre-home inspection prior would allow you to negotiate and to find those things ahead of time and turn those negotiations to your favor. So you're going to need to get with your agent. If you're not listing with us, or get with your agent and discuss those opportunities on pros and cons on that. I will say that if a property is fairly newer, it may not be needed. But it is so important that making sure some inspections are there. We already talked about termites last week. That's a given. Go ahead and get a termite inspection. That's just a must. And more than if you don't have a treatment plan, go ahead and get that into play. We've just seen that come up and bite too many deals in the past. But if it's an older home, and especially some of our prestigious areas, those numbers can get very, very costly. And so it may be wise to do a inspection on your major components, your HVAC, your roof, your foundation, your plumbing, your electrical, and just do a component check versus a whole home inspection. So that's what I would recommend doing. Very beneficial. You can actually give that to the purchaser if they're interested, may save a duplicate inspection, but if nothing else, will cover you for any last minute issues that come up. Because here's the challenge. Once we go under contract, once we start moving, once we get things where we need to be, you may have in a moving truck, you've taken a new job out of the area, And the last thing you have time, if your family's back here, is negotiating repairs and inspection. So tough to do. Keep that on the housing market. But I think as a whole, buyer sentiment, buyers are nervous in today's housing market. The number one thing I would suggest, have great communication with your agent, seller, and buyers. If you have to work through another agent, hopefully you can have good communication with the other agent, if you will. Texts are great. Deals don't get done on text. Deals get done on conversations. And so sometimes great for a text back and forth, but you got to communicate. You got to explain the seller's position, buyer's position. Real estate's all about a meeting of the minds and getting everybody to come together. And so hopefully you can do that. You'll save more deals and hopefully get closed here in 2025. We talked about condos. Talking about condos, why now? Condos could be a win for today's buyer's market. It is a buyer's market. It feels a little bit like a buyer's market. Not every home buyer wants the biggest house on the block. Some want something similar, more affordable. How about this? Less maintenance. Home ownership for downsizing, great to maintain. It means right now, condos are the most buyer-friendly parts in the market across the U.S. We can talk about the housing market in Florida, opportunities there. But then there's also some luxury condos that you don't see where we're downsizing from that large house, and we've got one coming downtown that you're going to want to check out. And those aren't for sale. Those aren't for discount. So keep in mind that condos, there are currently 194,000 condos on the housing market right now. So if you're stuck waiting for something to pop up or rushing into an offer just to beat someone out, you've got plenty to choose from, and particularly a better layout, location, amenities. Not to count that the HOAs may be covering certain things, maintenance, etc., insurance costs that you may not have to cover. Condo buyers in many cities are able to find sellers who are willing to give concessions and sell for far less than asking price, as we're seeing now. So opportunities in the condo market. I really hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Enjoy spending time with you every Saturday. You have an amazing weekend, and we look forward to seeing you back next weekend with Real Estate with Ryan. Take care.